With this section B, I'm going to now talk about the irregulars that in regard to placing an orthographic accent on words. Why is it considered an irregularity? Because the rule matches the pronunciation, but the word will still need an orthographic accent mark. And it's usually with two strong vowels next to each other that will create this irregularity. My example that I have here is ataud. You can tell from how I underline this syllable, I'm only underlining the U and the D. That's a clear clue to you to show you that A and U are not in the same syllable. If it were all underlined, as it were here, it'd mean that it's in a diphthong, and this is incorrect. I am clearly underlining the U and the D to show that it's in its own syllable. So what does the rule say? It ends with a consonant that's not an N or an S, therefore it's aguda, and the way I'm pronouncing it by looking at the underline is it's also an aguda. And like I said previously, if the rule matches the pronunciation, you would need no orthographic accent mark. But in this case here, whenever you see that these two match and you have a strong vowel next to something that can be considered a weak vowel, so that's either a U or an I, then you should really look at that underlining and then say, yes, I need to put accent on that U to make it a strong U. So my orthographic word is going to carry that accent. Another example, libreria. You see that I only underline R and I. I don't underline RIA. If I do that, that means that that syllable contains a diphthong, but clearly it's not. So that should be your first clue. You'll also see that it will not meet that irregularity, the accent rule that we saw before, where if a rule matches the pronunciation, it shouldn't need an accent, but this is irregular because you have the weak I there underlined. So does the rule matches the pronunciation, but we have a diphthong going on here with the I or the underlining clearly separating two vowels. That means you need to put the accent there. We have practica C, a couple examples. I'm going to do the model for you. I have this word as an aguda. Now, all the activities in practice C are agudas. If you can see in the direction line that all of them are going to have that stress in the last syllable, you can go ahead and just have a reinforcement knowing that that's aguda. Next, you have to determine if the word needs stress. So what does the rule say? Ends with a vowel. That means it belongs to a yana. Agudas are words that end with consonants, except N or S, and yanas are words that end with a vowel, N and S. So that means the rule says that that word is a yana. How I'm pronouncing it is an aguda. Because the rule does not match the pronunciation, you automatically know that the word needs an accent mark. The other example I have in the notes is relampaguear. It's an aguda. The underline is showing the stress where it falls. What does the rule say? The rule says it is an aguda. The pronunciation says it's also an aguda. Because the two match, we do not need an accent anywhere here. Be careful in this activity for those items that have a little asterisk next to them. For example, number 26 is the word oír. That marks our words that are irregulars. Always when you have two vowels next to each other that might form a diphthong, but only one of the vowels is underlined, it means that that is a hiato, needs to be separated. For those irregulars, the rule means it ends with a consonant, is an aguda, equals the way we're pronouncing it, aguda, but because it's irregular, we still need to go in and place an accent to break up this diphthong. If I don't place an accent there, this is going to be considered a weak I, and I'm going to want to say it oyer, but it's o-ir. Okay? I already have the example 27 completed for you, which is ataud. So watch out for those. In practice D, all the words in the activity are llanas. Let me do the model for you. I'm telling you it's a llana. I'm showing you it's a llana by placing an underline under it. Now you have to determine that does that word need a physical written accent on it. Well, what does the rule say? Rule says it's a llana. Pronunciation, I'm pronouncing it as a llana. Because the two equal each other, no accent is needed. And I definitely don't have any irregular here because there are no vowels being separated. The other example I have is the famous director from Spain, Spaniard director. Many people mispronounce his name. American speakers mispronounce his name. It's Almodóvar. So I'm telling you that's a llana. I'm showing you it's a llana. Let me make this clear by doing this here. Phonetic transcription is going to need the accent, not the orthographic word. Almodóvar. What does the rule say? Rule says it ends with a consonant. Should be aguda. The way I'm pronouncing it is a llana. These two do not equal each other, and therefore I need to put the stress on where I'm pronouncing it. So the transcription is going to look like this. In this case, both the phonetic transcription and the orthographic word need the accent. But number 23 in this activity is pua. Immediately you see two vowels that are separated. I'm not only underlining one of the vowels, so that's why it gets an asterisk, because it doesn't follow the rules that we saw previously. According to the rule, it's llana. The way I'm pronouncing it is a llana. So they do equal each other, but you have to take one further step. This is first step. Second step is saying, do I have, let's say, two vowels? Two vowels. Yes, I do. Is one of them weak? Yes. So that means it's an irregular, and you go up and put the accent there. The transcription is going to look like this. In this case, the transcription and the orthographic word are both going to carry accents. In activity E, all the words are esdrújulas. In section 6A, the previous PowerPoint that I did, so now you're finally getting an activity to practice these esdrújulas. If you remember that all esdrújulas have the accent on the third to last syllable, and they always carry an orthographic accent. Of course, it always carries a phonetic accent too. My example that I have for this exercise is pidiéndote. I'm underlining here. It starts to help out with these longer words to actually do the phonetic transcription right away. You already know that because I'm underlining it, that the accent's going to go on the vowel. It's not going to go on the I because it became a semiconsonant. Now I have to determine if this esdrújula needs an accent. Either we can go through all this and come to the conclusion that, well, what does the rule say? The rule says it should be a llana because it ends with a vowel. But the way I'm pronouncing it is an esdrújula. Since they don't match, I do need to go and put that accent there. And you can tell that they match what vowel it's going over. It's over the E. Okay, I'm going to do one more. Let's say eroe. That's number 8. I'm telling you in the directions it's a esdrújula. I'm showing you here that's esdrújula. The first thing I would suggest you to do is do a transcription so that you actually see that's the third from the end. Remember, no H's in a phonetic transcription. Now we have to determine if the E in this word carries an accent. Now, I'm going to tell you, yes, all esdrújulas carry an accent mark on the orthographic. Just to make sure you understand the reasoning, the rule says it's a llana. The way I'm pronouncing it is an esdrújula. Since there is a mismatch, you're going to put the accent where you're pronouncing it at, and it's right there. So we have a matchup of these two. Activity F also practices everything that you needed to know for sobre esdrújulas in the first PowerPoint, the first presentation I did for Chapter 6, Part 1. Sobre esdrújulas. I'm just going to use this symbol right now instead of writing it out. Is fourth to the last syllable. The orthographic word will receive a stress, and so will the transcription. The example I have is dándonoslo. You will always have with sobre esdrújulas 2 pronouns plus either a gerund or a command. Here we have a gerund, an ing word. So I'm telling you that the stress falls on the fourth to last. First step I would suggest is simply transcribe it so you can count those 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Because it ends with a vowel, it should be a llana. Pronunciation says, the way I have it stressed, is a sobre esdrújula. Since they don't match up, we're going to put the stress where the pronunciation says. So you'll see here, both words have a stress.